Hello and welcome to the first part of chapter 1. I will give an introduction about what you're going to learn in the following 9 chapters. So every chapter will cover a very special part, what's interesting and learnful to learn. That's all about. So this is chapter 1, and in this chapter I will tell some information, background information, and cover some paintings from the old masters and showing the techniques that I think are very useful to learn and adding them in your scenes. So a sort of background lesson. That's chapter 1. It's a short chapter, and but definitely worth to watch it. So in chapter 2, we're switching to Blender. We're downloading it, we're installing it on the computer, and we're going to take a look. How does it look like? How does Blender work? Does it look familiar, or is it totally rough for you? So I will try to make it look comfortable. So showing you the buttons that I think are useful to use as a beginner, and not push you in a complex interface where you need to learn every button and that everything is getting to you and you're getting a bit panicked. So an introduction with Blender, we're going to make a chair, a very simple object. We're also going to make a fence. It's a bit more complex, but very well to do, and we put a texture on it. So that's chapter 2. And when we've covered that, we go to chapter 3, and that is all about the materials. Because materials in Blender are making the looks on how your object looks like. So the texture that we applied, we're going to tweak that a little bit. We're going to add some moss, some glossy, and make it look a bit more rough for the fence. And when we've completed that, I will tell something more about other materials, and we call it shaders. So the looks of the material, you will learn it in chapter 3. And when we cover that, we will switch to chapter 4. And in this one, the real modeling process starts, because we're going to create our first medieval building. Because the mood of the scene will be medieval, so that's why we focus on medieval designs. And I have lots of reference images, and we will take a closer look. And we start with a simple building. So we'll not start with that complicated building with ornaments and different difficult designs. No, very simple design, and in a lot of parts I will cover how to start and how to finish the building. We do some organization stuff and making a library, very useful information. So when we've completed the building, chapter 4 is completed, and we switch to 5, what is more about advanced buildings. So with the knowledge you learned in 4, you will be able to make more complex buildings, like putting more ornaments, making difficult texture combinations and stuff like that. It's very learnful, but it's cool. It's nice to see progression in the work, and it doesn't matter if you want to make a different design, so you don't want to follow the path. I say, yeah, try that as well. Absolutely, but if you want to follow my instructions, that is good. You can do both of it, so watching me and trying to make your own design, just following me. When we've covered chapter 5, we go to 6, what is all about nature in the scene. Nature is important. It's making your scene, without nature your scene looks very empty. Look outside, you will always see green or trees or whatever. Trees or nature is important. So we start with making grass from scratch, because I think grass is a very important object in a nature scene. So we will make these strands and putting them together and making a grass field. And when we complete that, we will make some flowers, we will make some wheat. We combine that in the scene and make sort of a test scene. So I will show you how that looks. I will put a sun lamp on it, and that's the beginning of chapter 6. And when we've done that, we will make some rocks. We'll do that in the sculpt mode, so we will sculpt a rock, and we will do some material settings to make it look like a rock. It's important as well. It's not just putting a texture, there's more things that's come along. And when we've completed the rock, we will start making trees. And for making trees, I will use the Groove 3D. It's an external add-on, it's a paid add-on, so it's not included in this course, but I will still cover it because making trees is a very complex job. And before I worked with the Groove, I used the sapling tool from Blender, but I discovered that working with the Groove make way better results, so that's why I work with it. Don't be disappointed, because I will include some sample trees in this course that you can use in your scenes. And if you really want to learn making trees without the use of the Groove, you can download my ebook, what's included in this course, and I will spend a full chapter on working with the sapling tool, what is integrated in Blender, and you will still be able to create your own tree designs. So when we've done that, we're in the end of chapter 6, and we go to chapter 7, where we will cover the use of paths in your scene. And paths are very useful because, yeah, when you want to make a nice composition, it's very useful when there is something in the scene what looks like a path. So we will put some water puddles on it and, yeah, some variation. We also will make a cobblestone path, a very nice one with lots of depth in it. We're creating all these cobblestones and making it look like a path. So when we have completed that, we're finished with chapter 7 and we go to 8, what is all about lighting and atmosphere. So I will show you what is a point light and what happens when you put it in your scene. Will your scene look very bright or dark? What is lighting and how does it work in 3D space? It's different than looking outside at the scene. We will use the sunlight and environment maps, panorama maps, HDR maps. Is that right? Yes. So we will cover everything what is related to creating a nice looking scene with decent lighting. And we're also going to spend a bit time on adding mist in the scene. Like that's when you look outside, you will see a little bit of fog, always just a little bit, and how to add that in your scene. I'm doing that 2 ways, with an old way of faking a little bit of mist and with the volume scattering option. So both are having the good and the bad things. So that's chapter 8, and in chapter 9 we're going to finalize our scene, we're going to make a very unique our own scene, starting really from scratch. That doesn't mean that I didn't create that scene before. No, we will make a plan. So I write down a story, because what I have in mind, I'm making a sort of a map. And that's it, and we're starting creating that, and it's really cool to see that growing, what kind of decisions you have to make it look good. So it will be the most challenging chapter of this whole course, but also the most learnful chapter, and that's pretty much it. So in the end of all these courses, you will be learning lots of useful things, and you will be able to create your own environment scenes on your own, so you don't need me anymore. But yeah, you have to follow all of these and try to make it look as good as possible. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole idea behind this course, making a better artist of you. But you need to be unique and keep close to yourself, and not to try all my options, like, oh, you use that tool and I will copy that as well. Oh, you're using that value, so I need to use that value as well. No, try to be free in that and experiment and try things out. That's what I like to say about it. So, I hope to see you in the next part, where we'll cover something about the techniques of the old masters. Bye.